We are more than halfway through 2019, and it's time to check in with your financial goals. Experts say the average American makes 91 financial mistakes a year. Casey Marx from Crown Haven Wealth Advisors is here to help us fix some of that. Glad to have you in today.
Thanks for having me.
So what are some of these financial fails that people are succumbing to this year?
So yeah, as you mentioned, a new study found that people are making on average 8 financial fails a month. So that's huge because every single mistake you make has a ripple effect. Some of the more common fails we see are just overspending and not saving enough. So we have a phrase in our office that everybody's life is either a warning or an example.
Oh,
and
that's
the folks,
interesting. Yeah.
And the folks that we talk to that are in the best shape are the folks that have been absolutely diligent about their spending plan and how they save.
Is there a ballpark percentage you should be saving of your income every month?
We like to see people starting at 10%, 15%. I mean, honestly, if you want to get to where you want to be, 15% and up is where you want to be, but some folks just can't do that. But folks will say, Casey, I can't do that, and my answer to that is, look, if the government tomorrow said, we're going to tax you an additional 20%, what would you do? You'd moan and you'd call your friends, you'd say this sucks.
Right.
But then you'd pay the tax.
You find out how to make it work. You'd adjust your expenses,
exactly.
as you said.
So tax your present self for your future self. Your future self will thank you.
Some people call that an investment.
Yeah,
maybe.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so what else are people messing up on? They're not following their budget.
Yeah, they're not following their budget. They're ignoring tax implications. So the new tax act went through, and what we saw is people aren't withholding the right amounts from their paychecks.
That was my fail last year.
Yeah, it's huge. So if you want to make adjustments to that for effective 2019, you want to make sure that you're talking to your employer about that right now. It's really easy. You change your W-4 with your employer, and you can take care of that.
Now, what about some folks who set a goal at the top of the year and said, okay, you know, making an estate plan or some kind of a long-term retirement plan? How could you be messing that up already at this point in the year?
Well, estate planning, the very basic you need is a will, and you need to designate an executor. Because if you don't do that, then, you know, the government can basically tell you where your money's going to go when you're gone. That's not a good deal. When it comes to investment planning, the 3 major issues that we see is that folks are paying too much in fees. They are at risk that they don't need to be at for their age or their time horizon, and they don't have a spending plan. So I want you to remember that for every 1% you're paying in fees, you're giving up 10 years of retirement income. It takes obviously a 100% gain to come back from a 50% loss.
Right, to move back in,
Yeah, and a secure income starts with a secure income plan. So if you don't have a plan set up for income in retirement, that's incredibly important.
Well, there's so many people who are living paycheck to paycheck or who are not thinking a month or 2 in advance, and then something happens and then they're in a really tough situation.
Absolutely.
So that's a good piece of advice there. Another one is on investments, and this is one that's got a lot of people talking because this has been a tough year for investments already. We've seen the Dow Jones having its worst day just a couple days ago. Housing prices, you know, your home investment kind of dropping a little bit depending on the area you live in. What can we do about that?
Well, look, it's really important to analyze where your investments are at, but what we tell our clients is winter is coming. So, you know, to use a Game of Thrones reference.
I see the meme in my head when you say that.
Winter is coming, and it's cyclical. It's a credit cycle. So since Roman times, this has happened, and we don't know when winter is coming. I don't know when it's going to happen. I can't predict it to you. But if you're not harvesting your gains from the fall, you're going to be in trouble. So reallocate, make sure that you're protecting yourself for that rainy day, and you'll be in good shape.
Now, as far as you can tell, you don't see another 2008 coming in the near future, or do you see the signs of something like that on the horizon?
I think the fundamentals are skewed. I think we're in trouble in that regard, and particularly with the interest rates as low as they are right now, the Federal Reserve doesn't have the ammunition that they did have back in the 2008-2009 time period, and then there's a lot of macro economical problems as well. So with regard to that, I don't want to say that at this point, I see that there are a lot of indicators that could lead to trouble.
Okay.
If you're approaching retirement, if you're in retirement, you really need to be paying attention to your allocations.
And be prepared, and don't do any financial fails. I like the alliteration on that one. Casey, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We always appreciate your advice and, of course, passing that along to our viewers at home.